had a big week in terms of Spotlight classroom activity, and here's what happened. We started out the week with a team meeting where we discussed some of the assets that we had as a team. I thought it was really interesting. We were working in two separate groups, but the two groups came up with some very similar ideas. This week we had 3 different days of Spotlight visits. 2 of those days were induction teachers, and one of them was with Upland Unified. They are interested in adapting our idea for next year.
For me, it was so powerful to see the way Sabrina was able to modify a Eureka lesson and still keep the same objective in mind. And it was also really nice to see her transitions and just see the way that she interacted with the students, and even just the way that she actually followed the lesson itself with the pieces she did, because then that lets me see how it actually looks in a classroom itself. And she provided us a copy with that lesson with all her notes on it. So if she skipped a portion of the lesson, it was crossed out and she had her reasoning written next to it as to why she skipped it out. For the lesson that we saw, it wasn't necessarily that she skipped it out, but she substituted with something else, and so she provided her reasoning as to why she was substituting what she was doing. And then on the actual lesson itself, she wrote, this is going to be my example 1, this is going to be example 2, and then for the third one, she put it on there, if I have the time, then this would become my 3, but she never said it was going to happen. And it was nice to see that in the classroom because she didn't have the time for it, but at least we were aware of that. As a coach, it was really nice to see how the teacher that I was there supporting was observing, and it was nice to see the connections that she was making, and connections that she was making with both the math and with her teaching style. Throughout the lesson, I can see her saying, oh, that's a cool idea, or oh, I never thought of doing it this way. And it was also nice to see her understand why certain parts of the lesson were substituted versus just, oh, I just don't feel like doing this one. It was nice to see Sabrina's reasoning, and it was nice to help the teacher see that reasoning, because it's not just about being able to say, oh, this part, I don't think it works, let's move on. It's more of, I don't think it's going to work because I'm going to be doing this instead, and I think this is going to be more powerful. So that was really nice to see the teacher making those connections and me helping that teacher make those connections.
The teachers are coming into your classroom to observe you with a question that they have as it relates to their classroom. So them observing you is really about them, not about watching you. And the connections where they really liked how the students were working in pair, but all the kids were on task, and every single student in Hilda's classroom were working on math. It was really exciting. And the kids were struggling with a problem, and they also connected with, Hilda had one student come up and explain how they figured out, and the kids got to connect with the students learning instead of Hilda telling them how to do the math or what the correct answer was. And then the last big piece that they had was the way that Hilda addresses misconception and addresses confusion with her students. She said at one time to a student, your reasoning is questionable, and she said, oh, I'm gonna have to challenge that. And they really connected with how Hilda didn't say that's wrong or it's not right or this is the one and only answer, but made the kids go back and be reflective and think. The biggest connection that they had was Penny was doing Eureka Math, and a Eureka Math lesson where the kids were counting, and then they had to work on which one was more. So it was through little teddy bear counters moving on a baseball diamond. So Penny started the lesson with just bringing out realia of things that you might see in a baseball game to get the kids really connected of what was happening and the runs coming in, and then they kept score with little teddy bear counters. They really connected with, she didn't just count the teddy bear counters, she used the math in a real life application, and they were very exciting about the multiple means of representing numbers. It was completely hands-on, but they were definitely learning and meeting the goals of the math lesson in whole groups. The connections that she had in Sabrina's classroom were actually really powerful, because she recognized that Sabrina was limiting her talking and the kids were actually talking more. And the other big thing that came out of there was two different stems that we heard Sabrina use over and over again. So she praised what she wanted to have happen by using the stem, I like when you, and then to redirect, that it was like a series of actions on Sabrina's part, including the stem, I need you to, and then she would tell specifically the behavior and then say try again. So the teacher really liked the positivity of that, and it felt like something that she could do. The connections, though, that the teacher had after watching Erin was Erin gave visual clues for the thinking pieces, and she physically listed the behavior expectations. So Erin only used her voice really for the learning. If it was a behavior of how the work was going to get done, it was visual, it was written down, it was listed, including something a may do that they could do once the task was complete. And that was all delivered before the kids went to go get to work, and the teacher really, really connected with that. And the other thing that she noticed and liked and wanted to adapt was Erin recognized that the kids were sitting for too long, so she just took a break, and they did a little song and some movements, and then Erin went right back to her lesson. So the teacher connected with, if you notice that the kids are needing a break, do something about it right then and there, and then get back to the learning. So that was very, very powerful. One of the things that came up was that Spotlight classrooms are for those induction teachers and for struggling teachers. If that's how we're perceived, then I think I have clearer understanding now of why we don't have more teachers wanting to come on visits. And I think that's something that we need to talk about and figure out as a team moving forward.